Hello everyone, this is Vickie Verlie, the Rock and Roll Prophetess, and you can reach me at vickieverlie.com. Do not be fooled by imposters. I am a psychic or intuitive astrologer, so I do color outside the lines quite a bit. We're going to start with some looking at the chart, but there's always going to be a jumping off point to downloads and messages from the guides. And I did want to mention that I am open for the Aries Ingress reading, so if you do like this style of astrology reading, there's going to be the Aries Ingress reading. It is officially available and you can find it on my website. Today we're going to look at the full or new moon in Pisces, which is happening on February 20th, 2:06 a.m. Eastern time, but times will vary. So it's kind of a dichotomy because we're at the beginning at 1 degree. That's a very low degree, obviously. There's 0 and then there's 1. So we're at the beginning of a phase, but it's also in the sign of Pisces, which rules the 12th house, which is where everything starts here in Aries and goes around and finishes up in the Pisces section or the 12th house section. So it's a beginning, but it's also an ending. It could be. And if you look here, we have Venus also in Pisces, but at 29 degrees, 57 minutes. I mean, just right there. 29 degrees of Pisces. 29 is the last degree of any sign, and then when you factor in 29 degrees of Pisces, we are really looking at some big conclusions. Now, technically, this new moon is really conjunct the Saturn here. We've got the sun and the moon at 1 degree, and then just 3 degrees off over here, we have the sign of Saturn here. Now, Saturn is still in the sign of Aquarius, though. It will cross over on March 8th, so not long after this, a couple weeks, not even, about 2 weeks, it's going to cross over and join Pisces. I do feel like this new moon in Pisces is kind of a big indicator of what the energy is going to be like when Saturn does cross that line on March 8th and move into Pisces. For the first time and since we've gotten, this hasn't happened since the early 90s, I believe. I do have my little cards here, right here. Yeah, Saturn was, last time that Saturn was into Pisces was 1994 through 1996. And then, of course, before that was 1964 to 1967. So for most people watching, you're probably, you may have been an adult in the early 60s, but a lot of people weren't. So you may be, really thinking back to this 1994 to 1996 window of time and what was happening at that time. It's not there yet, but because it's so closely intertwined with the sun and moon energy at 1 degree in a conjunction, there is this element of this is what we can expect as Pisces, as Saturn moves into the Pisces for the next few years. With the sign of Pisces, the upside of Pisces energy is, because its ruler, Neptune, is all about spiritual growth, getting downloads, being psychic, being creative. It rules over photography, film, music, the arts. And if you look, the sign of, we've got the sign of Neptune here. Did I just release my thing? I did not. We've got the sign of Neptune here in a pretty close conjunction with the sign of Venus at this 29 degrees of, Pisces here. So we're looking at a big emphasis. Venus is really amping up that creativity side of the Piscean energy. It's just symbolized by the 2 fish swimming up and swimming down, almost like the Cancer symbol, but it's not. But it's one fish swims up and one fish swims down. You can make them look like fishes. If you take the fish that swims up, we're going to experience the positive side of the Pisces energy, and that's going to be spirituality, creativity, all that good stuff I just talked about. As with every sign, though, there is a downside, and the downside is going to be escapism, drug addiction. With Venus, we bring in this pleasure principle. We bring in this, I want pleasure. It can be very high of, overdoing it, indulging in mind-altering substances of any kind. Or the guides just came through with delusions of grandeur, because another thing that the Neptune energy does rule, it does rule having to do with mental illness and things like this. So could be some kind of delusions of grandeur, but let's always go, let's always shoot for that high road. Let's always take the happy fish that's swimming upstream here. Let's take this happy fish and let's try to do that, even if, the way they're showing me, Yeah, even if it's the string, if it's the fish, those fish that, what are those fish that the bears always catch them because they're just so easy pickings. They're trying to go, and they migrate home every year. It's is it the bass? Some kind of bass? I'm not sure. Even if we are meeting up against, like swimming a little bit against stream, with Neptune you usually do want to be in that flow, but with Saturn involved, we're creating things that are very long term. The guide said very long term indeed. Yeah, we're laying new foundations. We're laying new foundations of 30-year cycles. We're wrapping up 30-year cycles more. It's more likely as it's moving into Pisces. So dream that dream, create that vision, make that vision board. You know, make that vision board. You know, instead of vision boards, what I do now is just have Pinterest boards. You know, and you don't even have to cut anything out. I know people, if you want to cut stuff out and that's great, but you can just have a Pinterest board that's dedicated to any theme you want. You know, you can even make it private if you don't want to. If you don't want people to see what you're visioning. You know, Pluto is officially has crossed the threshold. Also, let's back out of all this stuff. You know what I could do is just go like this, and you can't see it. Now you see it. Now you don't. Oh, I guess I was writing on the wrong screen. No, I wasn't. There it is. It's gone. Okay. I'm going to try to incorporate a little more. Oops. I'm going to try to incorporate a little bit more of the drawing. If you guys don't like it, we'll stop. But I do this kind of thing when I'm doing your chart, you know. So the Pluto has moved into the 29 of Pisces, and so it's making a beautiful sextile to the Venus in Pisces. This is beautiful, beautiful energy. This is powerful. Anywhere Pluto is always going to be powerful. And Pluto is at its final stages, because also in the month of March, Pluto is going to dip its toe into Aquarius. So as Saturn leaves Aquarius, Pluto dips its toe in, all happening in the month of March. This is really kicking off that Pluto energy, and I do know that this exact conjunction, I believe I said it in the monthly readings if you want to go back, I believe this is the exact conjunction of this is on the 15th, like the day after Valentine's Day. So I think it's going to be really powerful for people, but this is also very powerful. So 29, what are we wanting to complete? What are we wanting to finish up? What are we wanting to put the final touches on as these big shifts are occurring? Venus absolutely can bring in the positive energy, because Pluto is, you know, it's death and rebirth. Sometimes Pluto transits can be really harsh, you know. Many times with Pluto and Saturn, these are the big movers that are coming up, and they're in place, and it's only at 28 degrees. So we got 28, 29, 29. They're just on the precipice. They're just about to cross that border into the next sign. I mean, Venus does it every year or so, but these are big movers here. This has been since '08. It's been in Pluto, and I did do a whole video on the Pluto transit to Aquarius, so you can check that out if you're interested. So as one comes in, the other goes out. A lot of people say before the sign, these big transiting signs, before they leave, they'll give you a gift. Sometimes the gift of Pluto can be a little bit, and Saturn too. Sometimes those can be a little difficult to see at the time. Sometimes, you know, because they don't play. They're not tiptoeing around anything. They're just both of them are very matter of fact. They rule over Capricorn and Scorpio. Very matter of fact people. Don't have time for playing head games or being cutesy little whatever. You know, it's like, let's get down to business. This is what's going to happen. This is what we're going to do. Changes are afoot. I think that what I'm getting with this, as the Pluto moves into the Aquarian and out of the Capricorn, is all this whole transit since 2008. I think the gift could be, especially those who have gone through some major stuff like suffering, but I think the gift could be, make a little gift. The gift could be that you understand what it was all for. It was not for nothing. All the suffering, all the change, anything that's been ripped away from you during this time frame, or that came to an end that you maybe didn't want to come to an end, because we don't always see it. I think the Pluto is going to either, with Pluto and Saturn both, it's either going to just show you, you're going to see, hey, I see now. I see big picture. I see why this whole thing, you know, that had to come to an end, and where I'm at now, and how it's so much better now, how much I've grown, how much things have changed, how have I changed, how have I adapted, how have I allowed for the spiritual transformation to come through me, and I'm hearing easily and effortlessly. And how has it helped me? Because Pluto and Saturn aren't just jerks. They're not just bad guys who out to screw with you. You know, that's not what they're doing. They're lesson. I mean, especially Saturn. You know, it's the elder. It's the wise elder. And Saturn is not going to mess around with anything that is not substantial, that does not have legs, that is not going to be a good foundation, that is not going to be long lasting. So Saturn's just trying to guide you into this new direction. And with the combination of this new moon, and then when the Saturn moves over, I mean, you could really dream some big dreams now. Maybe even a dream dating back to that time frame for some people of this early 90s. You know, this is the time when Saturn was in Pluto. I mean, Saturn was in Pluto. Saturn was in Pisces beforehand. So what, you know, it's worth looking at. What were your dreams back then? What were you doing back then? Because it's a completed Saturn cycle, whether you have, it's affecting your exact personal planets or not, whether you're having a Saturn return or not, or whether it's hitting on any of your personal planets or not. A Saturn cycle has been completed, and it shall be acknowledged. That's what the guides are coming through with. It shall be acknowledged. The Saturn is like the patriarch, the boss of the family, the elder, the wise elder. Saturn rules over time. Time changes. Things change with our perception. And what was the other thing that just came through in the channeling of the first book there? The realizations of time. Saturn can help us see that, you know, and help us. This could be something, you know, because in the sign of Pisces, you could absolutely lose track of time. You know, I could absolutely see that happening. So this could be something where you're getting that eureka moment. You're getting that blast from, that last blast from Saturn, that last blast from Pluto, and it's showing you, okay, let's dive deep. Let's, like, okay, now I know what I'm going to do, and then it's just like, let's dive in and just do it. Let's just get started. They're saying throw caution to the wind. So not a word that I would say. You know, we've got all this Pisces stuff, but we've also got this quite a bit of stuff in Aries here. Well, Jupiter's right in the middle of it. Jupiter's sitting there doing its Jupiter thing, attracting, expanding, you know, emanating. And we've got the Vesta right with it on one side and Chiron on the other. And then we also have Juno in a 10-degree orbit. We've got a pretty good cluster of the Aries energy popping in here too. So we want to get started. We've been in those planetary retrograde motions. We want to get started. We want to get moving. We feel inspired. We feel you can use this together as to getting the spiritual psychic downloads and then turning around and implementing them, you know. And Chiron having a healing, a healing in the process. And Jupiter joining with Chiron can also show us where we have, because everybody's got a Chiron in your chart somewhere, and the Chiron is this thing where we just keep hurting ourselves over and over again. We keep opening that wound, and it's not only in other lifetimes. I mean, not only in this lifetime, but other lifetimes as well. When I do those past life readings, which is an astrology-based reading, Chiron is one of the big dogs. It's one of the big things. A lot of karma is tied up into Chiron energy. Where we hold ourselves back, where we make ourselves small, the guides are coming through with. Because I did that Aries Ingress, it would be a good time to do that Aries Ingress painting class too, because Jupiter was in Aries that year as well. But when I did that, I researched quite a bit of the astrology, mythology surrounding Chiron. And what I found out was, you know, he was actually brilliant. But he was, you know, he was one of the, what are those guys called? I keep wanting to say the Minotaur, but it's not a Minotaur, of course. It's the half-man, half-horse dudes there. Oh, God, I can't believe I can't think of it. But anyways, you know, he was one of those guys, like Sagittarius, you know. And they were not looked on unfavorably in the ancient times. They were thought of as animal-like, stupid, you know, and they weren't given a chance. Well, it was Apollo and his sister that took Chiron under their wings and proved everybody wrong. He was a brilliant math. They taught him math. They taught him music, and he was brilliant. You know, he was just not given the opportunity. So, with it being in Aries and with the sign of Jupiter, it's like you don't have to wait for your savior to come along. You are your own savior. You don't have to wait for anybody else's approval, or even in this day and age, you know. You can find anything on the internet. You don't have to wait for somebody to approve you to get into some school, or, you know, say you could be part of it. You can just say, hey, I'm interested in this. I want to learn about it. I'm going to. And in the process, heal it. And it's from within, you know, it's yourself. Even though Aries is a very outward expression, you know, it's very much go-getter, fire energy, the first sign of the zodiac, the starter. It's still about the singular individual. That's the first house. You know, it's the singular, and it's all the same thing. That's why I'm bringing it up, even if it's not your first house. Aries, Mars, they all have that same energy, and so on with the rest. So you can read Aries energy, first house, or you can read Mars energy, first house, Aries. It's all rulership. You know, there's words for it, but just know that it's all this similar vibe here. So it's in this first house energy, and that is all about, I'm going to take control of my life. I'm going to make a plan and take action. I'm going to kick ass and take names. It's going to kick ass and take names. Mars, the ruler of Aries energy, is direct. It's been retrograde for some time, and it's direct in the sign of Gemini. And it's interesting here, if we look, it's opposing the part of fortune up here at 13 degrees of Sagittarius. So by taking action, by doing Mercury things, by sending emails, by talking to people, making those messages, calling those people, sending those emails, you could get a response. It could be a fortunate turn of events for you. They could be smiling, the gods could be smiling down upon you, yeah. When it is raised, what is that? God lift his countenance upon you. It's an old song I did in choir way back when. His countenance upon you, and in his place, and in his place. There's something like that. It's a choir song. I don't know if anybody knows it, but it's about the countenance upon you. They're coming through with that song. I cannot. That's all I can get is that. And with his grace, I think that's what they're saying. And with his grace. Now they're talking about air, fire oppositions. This Vesta and the Jupiter to some extent, but really the Vesta at the 5 degrees, right on the Ceres over here at 5 degrees of Libra. So again, I think I mentioned this in the last one, we're going to have to pull in the other. We're going to have to bring in some of this Libra. Well, we're going to be feeding people too. Well, of course, there's been some huge disasters, and people from all over the world are, you know, sending aid and sending food. That's going on right now as I'm doing this reading on the 8th. So I'm doing it about a week or more ahead of time. But I'm sure that will continue. And we can, because the Mars in the Aries is a warrior energy. And it's an energy of, yeah, I'm going to charge right in and save the day, and I'm going to, you know, be the hero and all this kind of stuff. But you can do that in a way that's not on the negative side of Aries, of cocky and arrogant and self-centered. But we can rush in and try to save the day or help our fellow people, you know, as much as we possibly can. The other thing is it's making a nice sextile to the north node, and it's making a nice trine to the south node. So with Saturn so close and the nodes being activated, we're being, as always, we're always being called to, you know, look to our highest soul's calling. We're being called to realign. Saturn definitely is wanting us to realign because it's wanting to put down roots in different situations, particularly if this is hitting you. If you do have high degree of Aquarius energy or a low degree of the Pisces energy, then yeah, you're going to feel this. It's going to be hitting your personal planets, and then you want to, of course, take that into account as well. But overall, I think that, you know, we're talking about dreams, we're talking about setting intentions, we're talking about building foundations, we're talking about dreaming a bigger dream. Dream a little dream of me. Da 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 na na na. Do 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 do. Thinking about you. Ooh, sycamore trees. Dream a little dream of me. Well, of me meaning of you with this Aries stuff. That song's not going away. I love that song. It's a good oldies tune. I really do like that one. The other thing, talking about our Uranus energy. Now, it's pretty far separated. It's 11 degrees separated from the node. But we do have Uranus smack dab in the middle here, and it's making a square to Lilith and a square to Mercury, and it's squaring the south node. Wait, what's going on here? How come the north node? Oh, I was looking at, it's 15. It's not. I thought this said 14 degrees now. I'm mistaken. But I'm not mistaken about the T-square that's going on here. So we've got Uranus, Mercury, and Lilith in the fixed signs, all involved in this big T-square here. So, what does that mean? Well, squares make things happen, but squares can also bring about friction. Squares, Uranus can be upsets, things going haywire, upsetting. Lilith is, especially Lilith in Leo, I mean, Lilith in Leo is not taking any crap from anybody. She's claiming her power, but it kind of can go over to this Aries energy. It's great to claim your power. It's great to stand in your power. It's great to be committed and driven to what you want to be, and not let anybody dissuade you from this. But you also, you know, there has to be, you can't just plow right over everybody else to do what you want to do. And, you know, that's the downside of Leo and Aries, like that self-importance. Like, I'm me first. I mean, you could put yourself first, but not in a way that is going to, you know, be kind, that's all. Be kind. All right, do I have anything else here? We've got the Mars also at 15 degrees, so that's also involved in this. It's a sextile here, and it's trining the Mercury. Yeah, again, because Mars is in Gemini, and the ruler of Gemini is Mercury, and it's making this beautiful trine energy here, you know, you could convey your message. You know, you could get a lot accomplished. This would be a great time for, like, brainstorming, or just, even if you're just brainstorming for yourself. You know, sometimes I gotta I got these ideas floating around, and it's like I gotta sit down and take what's floating around over here in the Pisces energy and really, like, flesh it out. Let's really get this into at least an outline, or write down some key points, or get it into some kind of a, I'm trying to think of a word, but what the guides keep saying is formidable. I don't know if that's exactly what I'm trying to say, but they're saying a format, of some kind of a format. But I think formidable, they want me to use that word as well. So let's look at the aspect here. And we have Uranus square the Mercury. Yeah, we talked about that. But other than that, I mean, we've got conjunctions, sextiles, a couple oppositions, but it's not too many planets. We've got a lot of trines here. Trines, conjunctions. So when we get trines, we get conjunctions. These are the planets that are trying to work together. There's a potential for them to work together. They're open to working together. It's always how we use the energy, though. It always boils down to that. We can, you can use that energy any way you want, you know, but it's there for the taking. So there is a huge element of this in this Pisces new moon of it's dreamy, but it also can be very motivating with all the Aries energy and all the planets direct, and you know, a lot of the things that we've been talking about. It's a time to be wrapping things up also. That's another aspect of this, because of, again, we've got these 29, 28, and there was another one. Oh, where was that? Oh, 29 here. Again, with the Venus goes 29 every year. It's a little over a year or so for the Venus to get through the signs. It travels fairly closely with Mercury and the Sun. But the Saturn, you know, and the Pluto, I mean, these are big, huge cycles that are coming to an end, that are wrapping up. So these are cycles of our soul journey. These are things we want to wrap up on our soul journey. These are things we want to wrap up on our, in this lifetime. You know, these are long-term things. Again, 2008 over here. That's how long this has been going on. It's been in Capricorn. So how has your life changed since 2008? What did Pluto really do? Well, for me, it's real obvious. I closed the bar in 08. My family's bar. I'd been in my family my whole life. Well, I think I was maybe 2 years old when they bought it, but I don't remember growing up life without the bar. It was always a part of my life, the whole life. You know, and the writing was on the wall for a while, you know, in a lot of different ways. Different, you know, the neighborhood is bad. My family, they're dropping dead left and right. That was Pluto, too. Pluto hit my moon, my mom died. Pluto hit my son, my brother died in my third house. You know, so I went through a lot of death. I went through a lot of big changes. If I look back to 08, I've changed. I mean, a lot, and I could see that I needed to. But my guides have come through and told me that, you know, that was part of one of my big karmic missions here. My big soul mission was to stop that alcoholism and all the dysfunction and messed up shit that was going on in that bar that was killing off my family and the whole deal, you know, and I stopped it. I talked about this before. These can be these family trends, especially and Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. So we've got really double Saturn action going on. What is your soul mission? How are you meant to end it once and for all? And for me, it was a lot of, I mean, and nobody told me to do it. Everybody told me not to do it. Oh, it's your family. How can you gotta keep it going, you know? And I was just like, I mean, this thing's gonna kill me like it did everybody else, you know? And it was a part of my soul mission. And we all have these incarnational soul missions, and that gets back to the Aries too. So with the, you know, so your 11th house too. Pluto's going into the 11th house. Saturn's coming out of the 11th house energy. Again, we're looking at 11th house, Aquarius, Uranus. So these are our groups that we're tied to, you know, and it can be your family group. It can be, it's not really, Saturn can be your ancestry though, for sure, Saturn and Capricorn. It can be your paternal line normally. So your father, you know, the matriarchy, patriarchy, the male energy, your father's line of, I keep wanting to say line of incarnation, but hereditary, you know, hereditary, that kind of line. You know, these are these, what did we incarnate into? What groups have we been into? And how has it served us and how has it not? How are we meant to transform and transcend these things that have caused us hardship? Or maybe that we've known for a long time that it just doesn't really suit us. You know, I hated being in the bar. I hated being there. Especially when I had to be there, you know, when I wasn't free to leave. I'll still go out to a bar and here and there and see friends' bands. I know a lot of my musician friends are playing around and different things, but I mean, you're sitting there and it's just so loud and abrasive, and over the music, people are just screaming in your face for hours on end, and they inevitably spit in your face too when they're screaming in your face. So I'm sensitive, and I'm an introvert, you know, this was never the place for me to be anyway, you know. So but I felt this obligation to my family line, to the group, to whatever, to, you know, this is going to be a big breaker of chains of these, you know, obligations, and more doing your own personal truth with the Aries. We've got this little moment in Pisces to kind of get in there and dig in there and go deep and kind of maybe figure out those things. Where am I? Where have I abandoned my personal truth in order to be a part of the group, or perpetuate this group consciousness, or whatever I was, you know, there's a lot of ways to come at it. It's going to be different for everybody. And you don't have to, you know, I didn't go around and tell people, you guys suck, and yeah, I'm leaving, and you're never spinning. You know, I didn't have to tell anybody off. I just quietly said, listen, this is the end of the road for me. You don't have to trample over everybody and tell them, you know, because that can be the Aries thing. That's one of the negative sides of the Aries thing. They can just be kind of harsh, you know, really blunt and harsh. So you don't have, you can, you know, you don't have to be blunt and harsh, but you should be true to yourself. And through doing that, you are Chiron. You are healing that personal karma of your own through your own decisions, your own actions, and you've got to do what's right for you. Now they're coming through with, I gotta be me. I gotta be me. Willing to fight. Do 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 do. Well, for whatever it seems. I'm not changes key and stuff. That's another oldie. We're coming through with the big time oldies. Who did that song? Is that Sinatra? I gotta be me? I think it is. But that could be a good for this Jupiter in Aries, and with the Chiron and the Aries Ingress right around the corner. You know, this is like a minute to just take our breath, tune in, prepare for the next step, which is just right around the corner here. I'm just going to look up I Gotta Be Me. Willing to fight, do 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 do, for whatever it be. I gotta be me, not my. I gotta be me. Oh, it's Sammy Davis Jr., of course, not Sinatra. I knew it was one of the Rat Pack guys. Sammy Davis Jr., yeah. I love him. All right, yeah, so like Sammy sang, just like Sammy sang. I gotta be me, gotta be you, but you don't have to trample over others in the path. What has been outgrown? What is not good for another 30-year cycle that you're not ready to sign up for another 30-year cycle? What chains need to be broken? That's what they keep coming through with. Breaking the chains of bondage, breaking free of these karmic situations, and being loyal to the, instead of being loyal to the group, you're going to be true unto thyself. To thine own self be true. That's what they're trying to tell me. To thine own self be true. That's going to be probably coming through a little bit more as we move into the Aries energy. But this is the time to reflect on that. How have I not honored myself? How have I not been true unto my own self be true? Or whatever. All right, well, it's really powerful energy. Spiritual connection, creativity, you know, all really, really good stuff on that level. Imagination, creating something through your imagination that could be very long-term, very long-lasting. That could set your course right. That's what they just said. Set your course right, if you didn't hear, because the dog's making a little noise over there. But anyways, we're over a half hour, so I'm going to wrap it up. Hey, don't forget about the Aries Ingress reading, because again, it is a very powerful. We're going to have the Jupiter involved in this Aries Ingress. It's always like, it's kind of like the astrological new year, really, you know, because it's when the sun, this is the 12th sign of the zodiac of Pisces, and then we go all the way back to the first sign of the zodiac. So it's this new beginning across the board, and we've got the Jupiter there again. The Jupiter was there a couple years ago, and then it bounced around and it's back again. It could also have to do with that 2 years ago, too, around this time. Something that was going, so what would that have been? 2021, spring of 2021. there could be some tie into that, but we're looking at big, huge cycles here with this stuff. And if you order the Aries Ingress reading, we will look at that as it relates to your chart. Here, a little detail about the Aries Ingress reading. First of all, it's not, we don't use the flat wheel. The wheel is set up by your wheel, by your birth chart. And I do use Coke houses, but it's not whole house system. It's your actual birth chart. Some houses are going to be really big, some will be small. You know, it's going to look like your chart. And then what we do is we do an outer ring, so there'll be the transits will all be, you know, going around the outside. And then that's a real easy way that I can look at it, how it, you know, how it's hitting your chart. And you know, it'll be it's astrology based reading for sure, but it's also very much psychic, coloring outside the lines. I get a lot of downloads. I veer off quite a bit, you know, so it's more than just an astrology reading. That's by the book. It's a psychic reading. And you know, usually there's many people that order every year. It's a popular reading. So I just want to, I was mentioning it last time, but I was saying it was not going to be live till February. Well, it definitely is live now on my website. Again, my website's vickieverlie.com. Don't be fooled by imposters. It's just rampant on YouTube, vickieverlie.com. You know, there's so many copycatters and so many imposters. So make sure that, you know, I don't solicit anybody for readings ever. Only time I mention readings is in these videos, and then it's up to you to go to the site and book it yourself, or you know, it's all there in the readings page. All right, everybody, New Moon and Pisces, dream a little dream of me. Not me, but of you. This would be like I'm saying, dream a little dream of me, so it's me. And get straight on what you want this next chapter to look like in your life, and dream it. Excuse me, dream it and visualize it into being. Make the plan. This is the time to plan, to visualize. They're showing me adding ingredients to your pot of stew or whatever you got there. Somebody's stirring that. Well, don't be stirring that pot in that way. Don't be starting crap. That's sometimes people, that's a, you know, stirring the pot means you're starting trouble. No trouble. No trouble. If it's not for you, if that whole scene is not for you, whatever scene that might be, then maybe it's time for you to try something different. Sing your own song. This is the time to figure out what your own song is. Maybe you've been so much tied into other people that you could never even figure out or know what your own song is. This is the time. Sing your song to be heard far and wide. Yeah, I like that one. Alrighty, everybody. New Moon in Pisces. Dream a little dream. Dream a little dream of you. And get ready, because it's right around the corner. We're buckling in. What are we leaving behind? What do we want to do with this next chapter of our life? And then we can move over to jump in that, utilize that Aries energy to really get fired up and really get passionate and really move forward. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in and everything you do to support me and the channel.